Hello, Miss Stacy here. Today we're going to be doing some paintings that are using the technique called wax resist. Wax resist is a watercolor technique that we use often where you apply wax to an area that you don't want the watercolor to get on. Wherever you apply wax, it will resist or push away that paint. We'll be using crayons or oil pastels for our wax. Some people actually use candles for their wax. Other watercolor techniques we'll be using is the use of salt, which will absorb the paint and leave little speckles. And we'll also be using the wet on wet technique. I'm going to be doing 3 of these paintings. I'll speed it up so it doesn't take that long. All are fall based, kind of Halloweenish. So fit for the month of October. I hope you enjoy them, and I can't wait to see what you create. Okay, for this project, you're going to need some watercolor paints. Or if you don't have watercolor paints, you can use food coloring. You can mix up, we painted with coffee before, you could always do that. The only color I'm going to be using, however, with the watercolor paints is going to be my black. So you could even use a black acrylics. You're going to need a pencil, a paintbrush, and either crayons or oil pastels will work fine with this. You're going to need some water and paper towels. Now the first thing I did was I drew kind of a rough draft of what I want my picture to be, just kind of practiced it on another sheet of paper. I'm going to do a scarecrow. Now, I don't want to put my scarecrow directly in the center. I'm going to move him down a little bit. But I'm going to use my little rough draft to draw my scarecrow. And I could draw darkly because I'm not going to be erasing this. So that's fine to draw dark. So the first thing you're going to want to do is draw your picture. Take your time. I'm kind of trying to draw mine fast for you, but take your time. It helps to practice first with the rough draft. So I'm just drawing the contour lines of my scarecrow. Contour lines are the outside lines. And here I have his little like hands. I want him to be kind of a spooky scarecrow since we're going into Halloween. Maybe some moss since we live in Louisiana hanging off of him. I chose to put a tree on each side with the branches so that he would be more symmetrical and framed and not off balance. Now, everywhere that I apply wax will resist the paint when I get ready to paint it. So what I'm going to do is my negative space back here in my background is where I'm going to add my wax. And then my positive space, I will add just the paint. And I'm starting out with, I'm using oil pastels. And what I like about oil pastels is how well they blend. But you could do the same thing with crayons. And I'm just going to do like a moonlit night. Have it starting behind it. I'm going to have a light orange, and then it's going to get darker as it fades out. Okay, so what I'm doing here, as I finish up adding the wax, I'm going to use a paper towel, or you could even use your fingers, to blend the colors together so that the yellow fades into the orange and into the red, and you don't have all of those spaces. And then just shake off the excess. Once you do that, you're ready to start adding some details. I like to add these little swirls, making them get larger as they get farther away with reds, and then blend them in together as well. Now I'm ready to start painting it. I'm going to need my watercolor paint and some water. As you know, watercolor paint is dry until you get it wet, so get some water on your brush and dab it around there, and you're going to paint the entire surface. You're going to paint over the wax and everything. This is very light, as you can see, because I'm using quite a bit of water. So I'm going to end up using 2 coats, maybe 3. I'll probably darken it up on the next coat. But go ahead and continue to paint over the entire surface. Notice where the wax is at, just kind of pushes it away. That's the resist part. I could see this as like a cityscape, maybe doing like some buildings in the background with the windows lit up with wax. Okay, I was a little impatient and I ended up smearing some of that paint on top of my wax. So I had to just kind of work with it and make it look like I did it on purpose. And one thing I want to do now, since I did that, is I'm taking a paper clip and I'm going to see what would happen if I just kind of scratched into it a little bit where that black was at that I didn't really mean. And it's kind of fun. Scratch some of it away. Create kind of a texture. Wasn't planning on doing that, but why not? Now that it's had time to dry, I'm going to come back over it with a few more details. I'm going to use my oil pastel or black crayon to kind of go around it and add some details, some sharp points, and I could also add some more branches on the tree here. Just to liven it up. That about does it. I hope you like my scarecrow. Alright, I can't wait to see what you do with your wax resist. We're going to do another one now with the positive space using wax and the background using paint, and we'll also use some salt. Mine is going to be 3 jack-o'-lanterns forming a snowman-like shape. You choose whatever you want to do for your wax resist, though. Please don't feel like you have to do a scarecrow or a jack-o'-lantern snowman or anything like that. You choose your own subject. As I start to add my wax, I'm just starting by outlining with the darker red and putting the darker colors where I want my shadows to be. My jack-o'-lanterns are going to be orange, which is a secondary color. If you think about that, red and yellow make orange, so I'm going to use yellow where I want my highlights to be, and red where I want my shadows to be, and then just an orange where they kind of meet together. And then of course I'll blend them with my finger or a paper towel. I'll do the same thing when I do the grass, because green is the secondary color, so I will use blue for shadows and yellow for highlights. Okay, while it's still wet, you're just going to want to take a little salt and sprinkle on it. You're going to let that salt dry on it, and it's going to absorb some of the paint, leaving a speckled look. Okay, so this is dried now. You can see on here how where the salt was, it kind of pulled away. I got a little impatient and I used my paper towel and did like that to try to dry it. You can see a little black on our wax. That's because that's in areas that we didn't press down as hard, and that's cool. It gives it kind of an old antique look. Now what I'm going to do, just to help bring out some of those details, I'm going to take a black crayon or oil pastel and maybe just outline a hair. Don't want it to look too cartoony, but I'm going to give it a little detail where it was lost. These details just bring it all together. Notice if I have black at the bottom, I'm going to add black at the top. If I have green at the bottom, I'll bring green to the top for balance. So here we have our jack-o'-lantern snowman. Now we're going to do one last one. We're going to use white as the resist color of wax and 2 colors of paint. I'm going to speed through this one. I had a rough draft and I'm just going to draw it and let you watch. You know the process by now. Okay, the first color of wax I'm using is white, so you can't really see it, and that's kind of tricky. Everything down at the bottom that I want left, I'm doing with white. Then I'm also going to use a little black for my tree branches and to outline my tree with, so that I don't accidentally cover it up when I paint. I'm going to put this little pumpkin down in the bottom down there. Just outline everything with black. first watercolor I'm using is for the negative space in the background. I'm going to want to make kind of a moonlit night, sunset type thing. So right around where I wanted the moon to be, I'm going to leave it in the top left hand corner kind of lighter and make it darker as I go down towards the bottom. And then I'll want to repeat that darkness in the pumpkin. After I finish with the background, that negative space, I'll do a black wash over the rest of it. Okay, so as soon as I get finished with painting all the black in the background, I'm going to just take my black oil pastel or crayon after it dries and add some finishing touches. I'm definitely going to want to go back over my letters and bring those out with the oil pastel. And I could also use that oil pastel to or crayon, whichever one, to add some more stems in the background, some leafy textures and whatnot, just to bring out the final details of it. I really hope you enjoyed this project, Wax Resist, and I can't wait to see what you do with it.